What's up, friends and foes? You guys want to know the absolute worst thing about Warhammer 40k? You hear about all this grim, dark, edgy boy setting, and then you see this. And this. Then you say, hell yeah, these guys are dope. But then something happens. You find out about this. And this. The demons, the warp, the magic, the zombies, Hellraiser, ripping and tearing, weird horror movie mutants. Now, if you guys have seen some of my videos, you've heard me rant about how much I love chaos in 40k. As somebody with 8 chaos armies across 40k in Age of Sigmar, it's safe to say that chaos has taken hold. But look at this. It's not even just the lore. Just take a peep at the models. The possessed marines, the mutants, the cultists, the demon engines. 100% more interesting than the loyalists in every single aspect. And I am personally offended that these beautiful boys are pushed to the side in favor of the boring loyalists. Truly doing a disservice to all of us out here with good taste. Today, I want to dive into a very cool chaos faction that I feel doesn't get enough love. The Iron Warriors. These guys have the vibe of big guns, big fortifications, technology, all that sort of stuff, and I think this model here, the Obliterator, is such an amazing example of this faction. A Chaos Marine loaded with so much artillery that he shouldn't be able to move, but the Chaos Gods appreciate this lad's determination, blessing him with demonic powers and mutations, turning his body into a walking weapon. Absolutely love it. So these guys have a pretty simple color scheme. Step 1, we need a good iron color for these Iron Warriors. I really love this dark silver from Procro, and I can't stop using it on absolutely everything. So let's hit all the armor panels with it first. Easy enough. Then we are on to every Chaos enjoyer's favorite part, the trim. Now, usually I'm a big proponent of the idea of dry brushing Chaos models first to hit all the trim easily, then going back in and hitting the panels to fill them in. It just saves so much time and the headache, but this guy has so many mutated parts that with the amount that I'd have to repaint over, I didn't think it was worth it. I still think I should have done the trim before the silver panels, so I could have been a little bit looser with it and had the silver to clean up the trim, you know? Anyway, I used Pro Curl Bronze here. Then some highlights. For TMM, or traditional metallic metal, that's like silver paint and gold and the metallic colors like that a lot of us use for minis. It's really important to highlight these just like you would any other paint. For some reason, it doesn't seem like a lot of people do that, at least not initially. Anyway, so this is your call to start, and it will change your life. I just used light bronze highlighting the trim and silver highlighting the panels. Next on the menu is the Gross Demon Skin. For this I used some Bugman's Glow. Citadel's an interesting paint company. I generally prefer pure pigment stuff, or as close to that as I could get, but Citadel makes some really nice skin tones. This skin has a little bit more to it though. We've got these weird mutated demony bits. For obvious reasons, it's going to be this weird, stretched and bulging skin. We need irritated skin colors. For that, I mixed in some Screamer Pink into my Bugman's Glow, putting that around the areas of the skin that are split and gross and touching the metal parts and irritated. It'll give that cool effect here. Some simple details next, some skulls, some crotch flaps, that sort of thing. Then we are on to the big elephant in the room here, the hazard stripes. I'm sure anyone out there that knows the Iron Warriors has been waiting for this part. a big secret technique to paint stripes. Nah, not doing that. Masking off a shin pad and shoulder pads sounds like an incredible pain in the cheeks when I could just practice getting better at painting. Isn't that the lamest advice ever? That's terrible. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We need to paint yellow, so a solid coat of white paint to start. After that, we need to put on our golden yellow. A couple coats here because it's yellow. Make it nice. Now for the hard part, the high pressure situation. We are secret agents about to defuse a bomb here. Straight black lines over yellow. By the way, I'm using Procural's Coal Black here and it's lovely. But first things first, I recommend trying to find a brush that is the thickness of the line that you want. It sounds obvious in hindsight, but I think it's easy to forget. Doing anything in a straight line is hard, so we want to come as close as we can to just doing this in one swipe. As you can see here, I still lift the brush up way too much, but the goal is one confident stroke. The more that the brush lifts off the model, the more chances that you have to go off of our original line. When the goal is a straight line, anything that's not exactly lined up is going to be noticeable and might be sketchy looking. Something that I highly recommend too in doing this is making sure that you're doing your strokes downward. Downward, like towards your own body, if that makes sense. Like you can see the angle here. I'm not reaching away, pushing away from my body or to the side or anything like that. You have a lot more control going in a straight line, going straight down. So definitely test that out. Something else that's very important to remember here is that it's all just paint. So it is super okay to mess up, and you probably will. I did. In an effort to fix these lines that got a little wonky, we just use a good bold titanium white again, then over that with the yellow. Blends right back in. The big thing to keep in mind is just to make sure that you aren't really globbing on the paint and it'll all turn out just fine. Patience here, my friends. This is the only hard part. The floor is pretty self-explanatory. Some dark gray, some rust on the beat up metals. Easy stuff here. We need to get to the next phase. Oil washes. Okay, now I can hear everybody shouting and screaming, "Your last video was literally called Stop Using Washes." There's a time and a place for everything. And I'm not the most fond of acrylic washes, but they still have their uses. Oil washes, on the other hand, are the absolute GOAT, and I'll link a video of me yapping about them here. Something I really like using in my Chaos Space Marine army is giving them this dark purple wash all over. It's a cool unifying filter over all of the colors used, and these guys are pure evil and I want them to be dark and spooky. Also in the next step, we're going to be balling out of control with some contrasting colors. But anyway, this guy got covered. Then we used a little Q-tip to dab away the oil on the upward facing parts, so we get that cool tint and the purple shadows. Then we must wait a while, a couple days to dry, sadly, really the only downside to oils. And we are back and ready for the finishing touches. We need that bright and gnarly contrast, some good old plasma glow and some glowy details, you know? Starting with our yellow and blending that into our fluorescent pink. A little pushing and pulling here to get the blend right, but I find on these plasma coils that it works best to have the farthest away from the source color parts on the edges of the plasma, and then using that color for the OSL too. Hitting the giant plasma gun here, hitting the little energy looking things on his back, his eyes, this eyeball on a shin pad, all those little accent parts. Then after that, we just have a base for him left, then on to the Spinny Shots. Thank you for watching, gang. I hope you all like this Iron Warrior, and it's got me curious, what Chaos Marine chapter do you want to see next? I've got a whole army to paint. Also, did any of you fall in the same trap as me? Who was the first army you bought and who do you play now? Let me know in the comments. And also, don't forget to do a like and a subscribe, it is super appreciated. And if you want more of me, give me a follow over at twitch.tv/drinkyourpaintwaterlive, where I stream 3 days a week. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.